How to find the right therapist. Now, the right therapist can help you make some major decisions and major changes in your life for the better. It's not necessary that therapy is always pleasant or that these changes are going to be always pleasant. So, it's important that you pick the right therapist. Number one, that I think is super important is, who do you respect? When you're doing your research and you want to find the right person, maybe you're kind of calling a few people and talking to them, notice your spontaneous reaction of respect. What kind of person do you respect? Sometimes for us, it's pretty simple. We can go back to our family systems, check who is it, what kind of people did we respect growing up. People with a lot of credentials, perhaps. Maybe you respected in your family system, you respected intelligence and achievement. Maybe it was also about gender, respecting men or respecting women more in this area. Their age, for example. Would you want to talk to somebody who's a little bit older than you? Would you like to talk to somebody who's younger or around your same age? Does age matter to you? Do you respect certain ages more than other ages? And second, who do you trust? What kind of people do you spontaneously trust? Think about your grocery store. Think about school. Think about college. Think about your family, or even television or actors. Who do you respect? Who do you trust? What kind of people do you trust enough to share yourself with, is what I'm talking about, because therapy is a lot about sharing yourself with someone. It can be very different who they instinctively trust, who they feel that they can trust, versus somebody that needs to see certain facts about that person in order to trust them. Trust is a very individual thing. The kind of person you can trust may be completely different from someone else in your friend circle or family circle. They may not trust that person. The third question, is awareness of your culture important to you? If you're going to be reviewing your family systems or your cultural upbringing or belief systems, would you like to talk to somebody who has that understanding already, who's aware of that culture from the same culture? Is that important? Similarly, religion, family system, family values, or country of origin, if those are important to you, then it's important that you find somebody who's from those regions or is like that, or is somebody who is not like that, if that's what's important. And fifthly, getting a little bit clearer on, why do you want to go for therapy? Do you want to process your family system? Do you want to understand your career options? Do you want to grow as a person? Do you want to get over panic and anxiety attacks? Are you chronically depressed? Do you need some tools or ways to kind of cope with depression? And seventh, read some bios. Read people, Psychology Today has a little search engine. Just put the issue in there and look for that person. Read their bios and let it sit for a little while. You don't have to rush to a decision right away. Just let it be and see if you're drawn to somebody's bio more than another. If you feel some kind of maybe connection with them, something in their words, how they look, kind of resonated with you. Those are all ways to kind of isolate and find the right therapist for you. Something that I'm going to share with you is your reaction when you see the therapist. How do you react in your body? Is there an emotional reaction, a physical reaction? Do you feel instantly calm? Do you feel accepted in some way? Those are all clues pointing you towards the right therapist. Now, some people may not have that need for emotional connection or instant trust, or somebody whose face is kind, and they may want somebody who seems very well put together, very directing, a different kind of person that they would like to talk to. And we're very unique in that. We're all very different on what it is that we respect and what it is that we trust, and what is our real deep-seated need, emotional, spiritual need, that is going to be mirrored in that relationship. And one thing that's extremely important to me anyway, and that's why I'm recommending, is check if they offer a free consult. Are they going to sit and talk to you for a little bit, answer your questions? Because that just shows that they want to build trust with you right from the get-go, that they're open enough to share their time with you, and they have availability. Availability is a big criteria as well, because you want to keep that momentum. And if you're seeing a therapist who has availability every month, maybe that's like a long gap, and maybe you want to see them sooner than that. And then finding a therapist who is more available can be helpful. And while you're on that free consult and you've got a list of questions, it's good to have a list of questions like about their hours, their availability, their qualifications, their personal history, a little bit about them as a human being. That's okay to ask. Notice how you feel when you're talking to them, the feeling in your body. And if that's hard, that's okay. Just the very first thought that came into your head, just notice that. And one thing that I think is super important is to notice if you want to talk to them. Do you want to keep talking, or do you want to just sort of run out the door kind of thing? It's too overwhelming. That can also give you a clue about whether that therapist is right with you. You need to do a lot of talking in these sessions, so it's important that you feel free to talk. Do ask questions about therapy. That's actually really good for the therapist as well, because they see that you're motivated to actually heal yourself. Share some of your concerns, about mental health, or any concerns you have about therapy. Check their confidentiality. How do they, maintain confidentiality? Ask how long they've been in practice, and also ask if they're familiar with your issue. And if not, are they willing to educate themselves on it? Because say you like them in every other way, except that they tell you that I haven't really dealt with this particular issue, but I've dealt with the feelings around this, and I think I can help you. And see how that sits with you. Because sometimes it's people who are willing to listen to us, they help us the most than those who know everything about our situation, or have really a lot of experience sometimes. So it's not necessary that a highly experienced therapist would be the best therapist for everyone. Notice how you feel when they respond to your questions. I think that's really important, because you can see if there is a transference happening, which is an important term to know yourself, know about, is that when we are in connection with another human being, their presence connects with ours. Are you comfortable talking to them? Once again, are you comfortable talking to them? Are you feeling intimidated? Initially, yes, it's going to make you feel a little anxious, a little nervous to go and talk to someone. But is it still sort of okay? Or is it oh my gosh, it's too much, So just notice that, because you may have a different reaction with one person versus another person. It's just, how human beings are. It's very spontaneous. Who we like, who we get along with. Do you feel accepted as you are? Do you feel you'll need to present yourself in a different way for them to accept you? That itself could be a therapy issue to explore. However, at the first contact, those first 15-20 minutes, it should be relatively easy to talk to them. Their qualifications and credentials should be what you're looking for. You should be able to answer the question, what makes this therapist different from others? Because it's important, I think, especially in psychotherapy and therapeutic work, that your therapist has a clearly defined presence, a clearly defined personality, clearly defined, values. I think that's super important, because you kind of know where you stand with them, sort of. You kind of know who they are. And sometimes it helps to kind of see what else they've done, whether they have a YouTube channel, whether they're on social media, um, who they are a little bit. I think it just helps. So that could be something for you to explore as well. Now, the next part is about credentials. I didn't bring that up first because I'm a competency-based counselor, which means that I've spent many years being with people. And that is extremely wonderful, actually. Um, Especially if you are looking for someone to explore and talk with. Going to a therapist with qualifications, a lot of credentials, like a higher level qualifications, like university degrees and PhD or something like that, is wonderful too. Especially if you want a diagnosis, if you really appreciate an authority figure, if you really put a lot of authority in credentials, then maybe that's the route to go. But if you're looking to just talk to someone, to be seen and heard, to understand yourself better, then I think competency-based counselors who have been in practice for years, have met a lot of people, who are really interested in human beings, would be a wonderful way to go. Sometimes, PhD, people can go to a PhD and not really feel like anything changed. They didn't get that insight. And sometimes they can meet with somebody who may not even be a registered counselor, and they get a lot out of that connection. So, and this is something that's actually bona fide in studies, in academic studies, that the connection with the therapist has a huge impact on the results. And that's really important. The second is, of course, the effort that the client puts into their situation, and their inner resources, their internal resilience and inner internal resources. And then eventually, I think studies talk about the type of therapies that are very effective, among which, of course, there's cognitive behavior therapy, trauma-focused therapies, hypnotherapy, and these therapies are also very wonderful. So if your therapist is somebody who's trained in a wide variety of therapies, that could actually give some confidence to a person, because I would imagine that would mean being met where you are, that this is somebody who can change things up a little bit when needed. So these are my ideas on the right therapist. Of course, the right therapist is the one that you choose to go to therapy. A lot of us delay that, and then find out that, oh my gosh, it helped so much. So the right therapy is the one that you're in, and do your best. Have a wonderful time of getting yourself back on track. And I hope that if you have any questions, you'll post them below. And if you have any comments, you'll post them below. I would love to speak with you or interact with you on YouTube. Thank you. Bye now.